to be making nice shoes. Nobody has much time to be making spoons and making forks for the king. Knights are only worried about fighting and conquering other places, other castles. Peasants out there are very worried about sowing enough crops to feed all the knights. This is a beautiful castle, but you know, from time to time, the bad guys, some knights from other kingdoms, come to this castle and try to assault it. Of course, this castle is well guarded with a lot of weapons and knights, and no real harm is done to this castle. But you know, these farms that are out there, they get set on fire, and the peasants, they have to run away to the forest to escape from the bad guys. So nobody has real time, nobody can put the effort to make comfortable shoes. That's why I believe this king is not rich. So now please, let's move with me to the same place, but let's move in time. Let's move 200 years later. The year is 1400. This castle looks very much the same, but now it is surrounded by some big, strong walls. And now the king is wearing some very nice, comfortable, good-looking shoes. He has many garments to wear. He has many clothes, and he has a whole bunch of forks and spoons to choose from when he eats. What has changed in these 200 years? First thing is that the Pope sent most of the knights to the Crusades. So he sent them far away. They were not raiding and looting anymore. They were at Jerusalem. But also, this king of the past constructed this big, strong wall. And now, between this wall and the castle, the peasants built their homes. And this little town that was formed between the walls and the castle is known as Burg. The Burg, this town. The guys that live in this Burg were known as Burga. These guys, the Burga, were not afraid anymore. They were not concerned about their homes being set on fire because they are protected by this wall. Therefore, they have time to learn skills. They have time to start making comfortable shoes. They have the time to be perfect at their craft. These bourgeois evolved to become scientists. These bourgeois became the later guys that had industries. These bourgeois were responsible for Renaissance, and ultimately they were responsible for Industrial Revolution, and they are responsible for us having a car, having an iPad, and having everything that you want. Just let's think about the difference in mentality from knights and bourgeois. Knights only want to fight, but also they are used to it at the king's table, which can be translated as they want to eat, be nourished by government. Bourgeois, they want to produce their own wealth. They don't need to eat at the king's table. They are producing their own wealth. Peasants, well, outside these walls, peasants live just the same way. They are always afraid, therefore they cannot study, they cannot acquire new skills, so they live like same way. So that's the bourgeois. Now, moving a little bit forward in time, let's come to the conquest of Mexico. So tell me, who conquered Mexico? a bunch of bourgeois?
9.
No. They were a bunch of soldiers that looked pretty much like medieval knights. They conquered this land and they got some lands for themselves. They became kind of kings with a lot of peasants around them. Somehow this evolved, government evolved and became more and more sophisticated. But you have basically the same thing. A guy in government with some government officers that live around him and eat from the government table. And you have a lot of peasants that are very ignorant and have no means to learn a new craft. Now, think about the conquest of the United States. I shouldn't say it was a conquest, but they colonized. United States was colonized by two kinds of people. First, there were poor, ignorant peasants that came out of hunger to look for a place to raise their crops. But also there came a lot of these hard-working, ambitious, skilled bourgeois. And they colonized this country. Therefore, you have the image of this American farmer that he got his piece of land and he himself, he takes care of the land, he sows and crops, but he also makes his own cart to transport his goods, and he goes to sell his goods. And he also fights with the Indians that want to steal from him. Therefore, what is the ideal of the American people? The ideal is to become a bourgeois, to produce something, to be their own bosses and have their own factories, or to work for another bourgeois, to work for a factory or for somebody that actually produces something. And what is the ideal of the Mexican people? The ideal of most people is basically to stop being peasant and become a governor, to become president, congressman, or some kind of government official, to live from the king's table. That's the big difference, and that's why Mexico is a third world country. But of course, my dear friends, you don't belong to that kind of people. You might be descendant from the Aztecs by birth, by genetics, but certainly you are descendants from the bourgeois by culture. That's why you are entrepreneurs. You don't want to live from the government. You don't want to suck the blood of every other Mexican there is. You want to create resources. You want to create wealth to share for everyone. You understood that to be wealthy, you have to create wealth and let every other people be wealthy enough. I told you Mexico is growing from 14th place to 10th place as a national economy, and it is growing because of people like you that put enough time and effort to learn a new skill, to be perfect at your craft. Therefore, out of here are coming the next millionaires of this world.